it's 2:34. Let's just get going.
Okay.
Hilal, the floor is yours.
You guys
Take it
hear
away.
me? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
Good.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today for Twin Cities Startup Week. My name is Hilal Ibrahim. I'm the CEO and founder of H&H, a local sustainable henna and hijab company based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Most recently, we launched the first ever healthcare hijab into the Health Partners healthcare system last November, for those who are familiar. I'd also like to introduce our main host, Umar Ahmed, and someone who worked really hard to make this event happen. Umar Ahmed is a social entrepreneur and the CEO at Twiggy Fresh. He has a degree in economics and spent years in the corporate world as a business analyst. He is passionate about entrepreneurship and using it as a tool to solve societal issues. And he's a big believer that business can be both for profit and for greater good. And he founded Twiggy Fresh in 2019. And I'll let Omar take it from here to introduce some of our guests, and we'll get started with our session today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today here. I'm sorry, getting someone who couldn't make it to the call calling me right now. Very excited to be here with you all. Welcome. And I know this is a great week for all of us as entrepreneurs, as minorities. And we are so grateful to have this opportunity to connect with each other, to know our stories, to share our stories. And I thought, it couldn't be a better platform, a better way to share our stories than Twin Cities Startup Week. So with that, I just want to open the floor and welcome you all. And it's good to have you all. And I don't think I will be doing any good to introduce you. So what I would like to ask is each one of you to please introduce yourself and share who you are and what you have been doing over the past couple of years or couple of decades, whatever. And then we go from there. Fartun, do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Fartun. I'm owner of ArcPoint Labs. I guess I'm representing with my sign right on my chest today. So ArcPoint Labs in Golden Valley. We are a patient center laboratory. So things that we do are included clinical testing. We've been doing a lot of COVID testing lately since all this COVID took over the whole business, but most of our business used to be based on DOT, drug testing, alcohol testing, DNA testing. We do immigration DNAs, we do legal paternity, prenatal testing, things of that nature, all DNAs, whether it's a health DNA, weight loss DNA, any sort of DNA, anything you can test. Then we also manage compliance with the DOT since we do a lot of drug and alcohol testing. And then since April, we've been doing a lot of COVID testing, whether it's antibody testing or the COVID molecular testing. That's mostly, we've been busy with the COVID. I know a lot of businesses have been really doing not that well with COVID, but we had to transition our business since a lot of the companies that we used to support who were in the logistics were not doing a lot of businesses. We had to transition from that to clinical. So we've been doing good, fortunately. So I guess that's my main introduction. My name is Fartun. My background is public health. I have a master's of public health MPH, and I just finished the PhD program in epidemiology public health. Thank you. So 2020 was a good year. So we'll see what else comes on. And COVID's been, I guess everything that comes on, I guess you have to look at the positive side. So we had to transition our business to do helping a lot of people with the COVID right now. So any questions for me, or anybody else wants to take over?
Thank you so much, Fartun, for that great story. I'm really happy to hear your story and that you are helping the community, and you're doing your best to be there for all of us. You know, COVID-19 has been such a tough year for not only people here in America, but also all over the world. And to have people like you in the front lines and helping everyone, it's really great resource to hear. So thank you so much for all that you do.
You're very welcome. Appreciate it for you giving us this platform today. Much
appreciated. Thank you so much. Thank you. Pleasure's mine. Elaine, you have been in the social impact world for such a long time. Great story, connecting minority entrepreneurs to investment and all the ways they can build their businesses, and you know, bridging that gap that exists, you know, when it comes to the opportunities as small business owners and the real world where there's a lot of gaps. So please introduce yourself, and we'll love to hear your story. Are you muted? We can't hear you. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for correct to take that off. So thank you to you for inviting me to this panel, especially with these powerful women. I'm so excited, so amazing, so beautiful. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So a little bit about Social Impact Strategies Group. We're just about to start our 5th year, so we're super excited about that. As we know, particularly businesses of color have a significantly high fail rate, particularly in the first 3 years. So we feel really great that we've kind of gone past that hump, so to speak. But a little bit more about specifically what we do. We have 3 buckets of work. Our first bucket of work is we do consulting and facilitation, specifically around racial equity impact and design, and social impact social impact design and audits. So what we essentially tell folks is, once you've gone through your DEI training and you're trying to figure out what to do next, how do I implement what I've learned? How does an organization or an initiative change their processes, their policies, and their procedures? That's what we do. Or maybe you're not sure where you should begin. So we'll do a social impact audit or a racial equity audit. And the reason why we separate those is because we have learned that while some people are interested in one side, they're not necessarily interested in the other. So we try in our consulting to bring those universes closer together. So that's the first bucket of work. The second bucket of work is we do education for investors and for entrepreneurs. So our education for investors is predominantly around them aligning their values with their investment portfolios beyond their philanthropy. So really looking at by asset class, where and how they can actually adopt an economic justice lens to their money. On the entrepreneur side, it's working with businesses like the ones that are here to help them grow their businesses to the next level. So we predominantly work with early growth businesses. So those businesses that are beyond like the startup phase, they've been in business for like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And now they're like, okay, we've got our product down, we've got our distribution down. Now we really need to figure out how to like grow our sales and grow our marketing and move the business to the next level. And a lot of times that has to do with your back-end infrastructure. So we help businesses with that. And then finally, we do a conference, an annual conference called Connect Up, where we bring all those universes together. We bring people like y'all who are looking for resources, looking for capital, looking to expand and cross-pollinate their networks. And we bring investors from not only Minnesota, but from other places to come who have a dedication and a purpose and a vision and a mission around investing in entrepreneurs who look like us, Black and Brown and Indigenous entrepreneurs. So that's a little bit about what we do. We're looking to launch a fund to support entrepreneurs like yours that is specifically economic justice focused, that is specifically working with Black and Indigenous folks. And so love to talk about that a little bit more, but so happy to be on this panel. And I'm open to answer questions about impact investing, investors, entrepreneurship, whatever you like.
Thank you so much, Elaine, for the introduction. Michelle and Salman, welcome. We're just introducing everyone, and please go ahead. One of you guys can go first and just introduce yourselves, and we'll get the conversation started.
Awesome. Yeah, so my name is Salman Elmi, and I'm the co-founder at Top Figure. So basically, we are an e-commerce scaling agency. We help businesses and people, come online, especially with the whole pandemic that happened and everything. It's been tough for a lot of the businesses here in our city, and that have been very affected by COVID. And we've been in e-commerce for the last 3 years, and we've really helped a lot of brands, scale online. And ourselves, we own our own e-commerce products as well. And, we've been doing that. And we also educate a community of people online on how they can start their own stores. So that's what we've been doing. And we also recently, so we also have a tech startup too that we, have, and it's called Tavolo. It's a restaurant-based application that helps the restaurants here in the Twin Cities, have contactless free dining. So we've been doing that for the last 2 years. So those are the two things that, we're a part of, and we've just been really a pleasure to be on this panel and answer any questions regarding online and really helping small businesses. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Salman. Michelle, the floor is yours. We sparkle.
Okay.
Great story. I can't wait.
Hi, my name is Michelle Maryns. I'm the founder and CEO, or the Sparkler in Chief at We Sparkle. We are a public benefit corporation that helps founders build their businesses with balance. And we do this through a digital assistant that text messages back and forth with a business's customers to take some of those tedious administrative tasks off your plate. So things like scheduling meetings, like Zoom meetings and things like that, or appointments, and answering frequently asked questions from your customers. There's also a couple of marketing tasks that it does for you as well, upselling and encouraging customer reviews. And we were part of the inaugural Finovation Fellowship. We recently released our digital assistant, the first version, which is available at wesparkle.ai. So if you want to take some tedious administrative tasks off your plate, you should go check it out, wesparkle.ai. And I'm really glad to be here today and to share what I know about, owning a business and sort of the ups and downs. Big fan of Elaine and the Social Impact Strategies Group and the Connect Up conference. And also Umar, I was just telling him earlier, my Twiggy Fresh toothbrushes came in the mail. So I'm very excited about that and excited to meet everyone here.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your stories. And I know a lot of people are wondering, the state of minority-owned businesses in our state, in Minnesota. And like we talked about earlier, this year has been really tough in many businesses in our state and also in our country. Elaine, if you can give us a kind of big picture, what do you see out there? How bad it is for small businesses? Some of the stats that I came across, saying that more than 500,000 businesses of, minority-owned businesses went out of business over the last couple of months, just the last couple of months. And I thought that was crazy. I mean, that's a lot. It's not just the numbers, what matters, but also it's the people who yesterday owned business, but for whatever reason, today they don't have any business. They don't have no way of earning an income, supporting their family. So if you can just give us a little background of what is happening out there, that would be amazing. That would be wonderful.
Sure. So I'm going to take us a little back. Let's do like a dream sequence. We're going to go back a little bit in time. And let's talk about where we were before this, right? So we did a report in 2019 called the State of the Work Report, which is available on our website, either www.connectupmn.com or socialimpactnow.com. And where we talked about what we call the missing middle. And what we mean by that is in Minnesota, we have a great startup community. If you have an idea and you want to test the waters of that idea, if you want to really see if that idea has legs, there is a lot of support that will help you get there to figure that out. The Finovation Fellowship is one of those resources. Impact Hub, Lunar Startups. We have such a great resource. And I liken this conversation to a baseball field. So we have lots of folks that can get you to first base. However, and we have a lot of resources that if you're already on third, they'll help you get run home, right? So we've got META, we've got Sophia Fund, we have Women Venture, we've got lots of resources. Like once you're kind of up and going and you're about to hit that hockey stick moment, lots of great resources there. But for those businesses that are in the middle who are, hey, I'm now looking for a commercial site. I'm now looking for bigger distribution. I'm now looking to hire my next 3 employees. That's where I find is the big blue ocean of what's missing. And you can't necessarily find capital if you don't have those things in place. So it's this kind of push-pull that the entrepreneur, particularly entrepreneurs of color, because we already know that we're deficient as far as getting access to capital. As far as equitable access to capital, we know that we don't get nor necessarily the knowledge and the information that typically our white counterparts get as part of just being in different situations or different networks. And so we're having to go up a learning curve, not only in the knowledge and information, but also in the access to capital, because historically we don't have access to collateral. We don't, we know that the credit scores are biased and lots of other situations. So you have that going on. Fast forward now to March 2020 and Connect Up was literally, I want to say, the last event besides worship that happened in Minnesota, because our event was the 13th and the 14th and the executive order came in on the 16th. So we were like the last event that happened right before the shutdown. But you put a pandemic on that. And I love that Salman's on here because that was one of the biggest things in the consulting, in the work that we offered free office hours to businesses, any business, to help them kind of figure out what do they need to do to transition? What kind of ideas can they generate based off their current business and their business model? What made sense for them to still continue to generate revenue? And I can't tell you, this piece that Salman is solving for was such a big part of it. Many people didn't have a digital presence, or they only had a Facebook presence. They didn't have a full website that could actually take in orders or take in information. Most of them had never heard of what a CRM or customer relationship management system was. Many of them don't know Canva, which is like my prize and joy of like digital marketing, a free tool that's available to really start to push content out relatively quickly and relatively easily. Many of them didn't know about an email system like a MailChimp or a Constant Contact. And while there is a learning curve to that, it can exponentially give you time back in your day as a CEO if you can automate some of those things so you can work on the business, not in the business, actually making the widgets, right? So that's one of the biggest transition, because as people of color, we're a hustle culture. We're like, listen, I know how to survive and I know how to hustle and I know how to make $1 out of 15 cents. And so they're spending so much time doing that and in survival mode that they don't have the capacity to learn and be present to be able to figure out how to systematize the business. So you're fixing the cogs in the business instead of fixing the business. So as it relates to money, it's been interesting. So you have all these people now who want to do good and want to give money to Black and brown founders. But the proof is still in the pudding, right? To see how is that actually going to be executed? To whom is that money going to go through? And what are we going to have to do to have access to that money? So while, yes, we've had a lot of devastation as far as businesses closing, I would argue that some of those businesses needed to close, right? They were in trouble before the pandemic, right? And the ones who are really good at transitioning, which you should do regardless of a pandemic, you need to be really good about not being stuck on what you've always done, but recognizing what are the signals of what's coming and being able to realign your business to fit with that. And I have found that the folks who have innately in their DNA of their business have really dealt with this COVID and the uprisings really well. And then there's just some like when their buildings are burned, there's really nothing you can do about that, regardless of how well you pivot. So I think one of the things that needs to happen is a couple of things. One, there definitely needs to be more resources for those kinds of businesses. That's that missing middle, those businesses that have been 2 to 10 years and now have been devastated in such a moment like this. But I am hopeful as a ecosystem. I think some of these businesses, it's just unfortunate, and I don't know that those businesses may be able to come back. I hope that they will. But for those ones, I've been getting record number of new businesses, people calling us of like, people being reinvigorated of like, you know what, now that I'm sitting at home, this is the time for me to work on this idea that I've been working on. And a lot of the calls that we've been getting with using our free business consulting office hours have been people wanting to start, women in particular, wanting to start new business, and women of color wanting to start new businesses. And that warms my heart.
Amazing. Thank you, Elaine. Is there anyone else that would like to expand on this question of navigating your business during COVID-19, or any experiences that you would like to share, either ups or downs? The floor is open.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. It was well said, Elaine. And I really, commend your business on really just like, being that limelight to like, a resource place where people can go to and just, get some sort of advice. Because there's really not many places that a lot of businesses can go to, especially in COVID, where it's like, hey, like, what do I do? And it's sad to say a lot of businesses, like it is sad to say they are going to shut down and they might not ever open up back up. And and it's the one thing that I really, like with COVID happening, granted, we've always been online and we've always preached that being online is the number one thing. And it's just making sure that you have some sort of online presence where, customers can go on your platform and shop digitally is such an important thing that really a lot of businesses overlooked. And it's and like you said, where a lot of the people are just that hustle, go mindset where they're just focused more so on, the day-to-day tasks. And they may not really have the, the time to, set up an online store, on Shopify or something like that. And it's just such that necessary key thing was the one thing that really could have let them, exponentially grow their business or stay in business ever so longer. So it's just having really just the openness to really adopt new platforms, really, put your products online, send your products to Amazon, really just having these things. And that's one of the things that we educate a lot of our clients and our students on, is just to always have an open lens and really constantly just innovate. This was definitely going to be coming, and it's like with all of everybody just shopping from the convenience of their home, with Amazon already creating the wave of just online just the seamless one-day shipping, really, that they've already kind of started that. And it's with COVID just put a final nail in the coffin, like, online is just where it needs to be. And it's as a community, we really have to really help businesses to get online. So
well said, Salman. Michelle, you are the technology person in this panel, I believe. And so if you talk about that gap that exists, when people are still in that kind of survival mode and they hustle and just want to make $1, but how can we say, hey, setting up a Canva account or setting up, Facebook account where you can sell your product, it's not that hard. So how can we teach our own community, our members in the community, so they can take advantage for those kind of platforms that exist already?
Well, obviously, Salman, it sounds like they could go to him as a resource. But I also firmly believe in each one, teach one as a philosophy. So, I've been fortunate in my life to learn how to use things like Canva and, how to use these different tools. And so I'm always trying to teach people when I have the opportunity, and just start small, start simply. That's the best thing to do, and try and do that well. So you don't necessarily need to spin up a website. I mean, that would be great to do, but let's say you're nervous about that and you don't even have a Facebook page. Why don't you start there? see what that's like. And then when you feel more comfortable, you know, Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, they all have very easy to use tools to spin up a site. And you can even do a free one. I mean, it won't be your special domain, but you can experiment, get it the way you want. And then when you're ready, you can purchase a domain. And, you know, there are a lot of resources. I don't know if people know that a lot of our public library systems have, you know, free Lynda accounts. So you can learn how to do a lot that way. And really tap into the youth, I think, in our communities. There's a lot of college students that, you know, a lot of their internships have been canceled, or they're looking for things to do because they're at home all the time. And they might be a lot more tech savvy or, you know, familiar with social media, and maybe they can help you out and show you some things so that you get the handle on it. So I think there are a lot of resources out there if you reach out and connect with people, and just try it. You know, take one step. You don't need to do everything all at once, but just try one thing and get used to that, and then keep adding to your skill set.
Thank you for sharing, Michelle. Umar, you have a question?
Go for it. Go ahead, Elaine.
Okay. So I know we have about 15 minutes here. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Oh, it's okay. I want Elaine had said earlier that I wanted to add what Elaine had said earlier about being ready to be transitioned. When you have a business, there's always going to be some ups and downs. Just like what happened to COVID. I talked about earlier that we were able to transition by April since all the logistics businesses that our main bread of our business was school buses. We had our largest companies were school bus companies that had the most DOT companies. They were shut down. Nobody was driving, so we couldn't do any business. They weren't hiring. So we had to find other strategies. Okay, we have a business. At the end of the month, we still have payrolls and bills to pay. So how can we do? So we transitioned from all the logistics to what was happening at the time, from the DOTs to COVID, because we needed that. So that's what you were talking about earlier, being ready to transition, being ready to change course. You can't be stuck to where you were if you want to run a business. So you have to be able to move on and day by day see, okay, what's happening today. So I think that is the most important thing for any owner, being ready to go with the flow of what's happening at that day. And I think what Michelle said was, having those skills and just like having those websites and all the other logistics that you need will help you transition faster. We were able to use website platform where people weren't able to come in and make an appointment. So we were able to use online platform where they made their appointments. They already made their payments. They did their paperwork, because especially the first couple months, you couldn't give them papers for them to fill out and sign under consent. So we were able to use online platform that they could pre-fill all their paperwork, make their payment, appointment, acuity scheduling. I don't know if anyone uses acuity scheduling, where the built-in pay form, you use it. Yeah. So we had all the forms ready. We had payments ready. So by the time the person walked in, everything was already in acuity in our emails, and we were able just to draw their blood or do their swab, and then they were out. So just having those logistics stuff, Canvas, acuity, helps a lot, being able to transition from one thing to the next as well.
Thank you for sharing those insights. So what I'm hearing is the best investment an entrepreneur or social entrepreneur or any person in that regard who has a business is to invest in himself or herself to learn, so they can grow their business, right? I mean, the best investment that you can do is to invest in yourself, right? And sometimes, most of the time we're so busy, we're just chasing our work and whatever we're doing, and we're not taking time to really think out of the box and say, hey, what is happening out there? So how can I take advantage of all the resources available for us, whether it is online resources or whether it is some other opportunities for investment or any other to grow businesses. So how can we draw attention to our people so they don't miss out those kind of resources available for them that already exist out there, so they can also invest in themselves and also be beneficial to their businesses?
So Umar, just a couple of things, because I feel like I want to answer that question, but also give a juxtaposition to the folks attending this around the investing in yourself. There does come a point there's a tipping point, right? So if you're familiar with a seesaw, right there, you got to have enough weight to like move the seesaw to come up this way and vice versa. And so for me, it's that tipping point is understanding at what point is it more valuable for somebody else to do it instead of me to do it? So I'll give you a really quick example. When I hired my first employee, it was about 6 months into the business. And as of you all know, I don't have to tell anybody here, you're doing everything. And so I was like, I need to get more time back. And I was just starting, and I had some clients, I had a long-term client, but I'm like, I really, in order to get to the next thing, I need help. And so what I did was, I was prompted by this, by something I saw somewhere, I read somewhere. And I was like, okay, if I could, thinking about my time and thinking about if I were paying myself as a CEO, because we're all CEOs of our company and we're not necessarily drawing a CEO salary, but if we really think about us as a CEO of a company and what we would be paid as CEO, does it make sense for me to open an envelope? Right? It doesn't make sense for me to open an envelope because I get paid too much to open an envelope. Somebody else who gets paid less money needs to open an envelope, right? So what I did was, I'm like, I have limited resources, but I need help. So I went through the process of writing 3 job descriptions. And these job descriptions were 3 positions that could significantly give me at least 5 to 10 hours back into my week, if not my day, if I were to hire these people. So I wrote these job descriptions. I calculated how much. I wasn't trying to hire all 3 of them, but if I hired one of these people, it would really, really help. And I decided on a dollar amount of what I could spend for that up front. It just so happened within a couple of weeks of me writing these job descriptions, I met the woman who ended up being my first hire. And let me tell you just a little quick story about that, because I feel like this is really important. When I took her to lunch to ask her about talking about this position, I asked her what her rate was. And she told me what her rate was, and it was more than I could afford. So what I said to her was, I said, listen, I can hire you at your rate for 4 weeks at 20 hours a week. I said, however, if you bet on me, if you invest in me, I can pay you half of that, keep you on for 8 weeks, and that will buy me time to bring our business to keep you on longer. That was how our relationship started, and she stayed with me for 3.5 years. So I say all of that to just say, don't take on conventional HR practices that might limit your creativity in solving your problem as well as solving a problem that somebody else needed. She was trying to leave the work she was in. She wanted to do something really mission aligned and really grounded in community. I needed somebody. She ended up being my project manager. She had project management experience, so that was helping me out as far as my client workflow, because we're a consulting business. So really, I think sometimes we forget how much agency we have when we're having these conversations and negotiating, how much negotiating power we have in conversations. So I say all of that to just always be thinking outside of the box, even when it comes to hiring or negotiating or services and products. Maybe you can do barter. Maybe you can be like, hey, if I refer 5 customers to you, will you give me 5 hours of service? Like, think outside of the box to be able to think about getting what you need. And then as far as your question, as far as where to find resources, definitely follow our Instagram. We are throwing up resources every week as far as grants, as far as workshops that we're doing, workshops that other folks are doing. We've got the Finovation Lab, and they just announced their workshop. So definitely, if you are on Instagram or Facebook, follow us. We are always throwing up any, especially culturally grounded workshops and information we put on our social media platforms.
Thank you, Elaine. Yeah, Innovation Lab is a great source of a lot of things that's happening right now in our state, and I was part of that Impact Ski Preview program that just we filmed today, our pitch. So it was a great program to be part of. And I know we just coming to our almost 45 minutes mark. We have another 5 minutes. Why don't we spend some time about, talk a little bit about the future, where we are right now and where you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years. So if you guys want to take a minute or so, talk about a little bit about how you see yourself and where you want to go to business, that would be great. Feel free, anybody.
I was going to jump on for this question,
Sure.
insert myself as a, I would say, I think for everyone, like Elaine and as everyone else said on the panel, a very difficult time for all of us. Some people more than others, but I think as entrepreneurs, you have that drive and that instinct to figure out a solution, right? Initially starting the company, there was a problem that everyone's individual company was solving. So I think just keeping up that spirit and finding ways to, I guess, not necessarily finesse, but find that route to make things work is what's going to work for everyone. And I just want to say it's such an honor to be with you all, and I wish everyone's business the best of luck, and keep up the good work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, hello. There was a great closing. And honestly, what I think that really we should do is we should definitely have more conversations like these, around, celebrating minority business owners. Umar, I want to commend you for, doing this and really putting together, like a community of people where we can just have a conversation. And really, it's so important that we consistently do this more often. It's definitely lacking within our communities, and we definitely, could really connect more. And really, one thing that I want to say, with what Top Figure is doing, we're want to really start an initiative to really do a movement of shopping local, really just like bringing, the money that goes outside of, rather than people, shopping outside on online platforms, really just like giving money back into our community. And really just, I really urge a lot of those people, and you guys will see that on our Instagram. We're going to really announce that. And it's just going to be really an initiative to make it really cool to shop within our community. And that's going to be something that, we're really going to push forward. And I definitely think that we should really continue these conversations. So it was a pleasure really connecting with you all again.
Just gonna say, Umar and I, after this session, will everyone's contact and socials in an email and put everyone on the email just so we all can stay in touch. But yeah, that was a really good point to make. And I think also empowering one another and like other people and other younger people, right, who have ideas too, is gonna be really big. And I think if we're always looking out for each other, we can only go up from here. So
100%.
Really good point. And thank you again, Ahmed, for putting this.
Definitely.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Okay, Michelle, please.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, my vision is really, for us to build a stronger and more inclusive economy. I think that will be better for everyone. And that's what gets me up every morning and is why I do the work that I do. I used to work at MITA, which is a nonprofit that helps minority entrepreneurs. And when I looked at the problems that our customers had, that business owners have, a lot of it are these tedious administrative tasks. And I totally echo what Salman says about buying local. I try to buy local as much as I can. And yes, tools like Acuity work, but you have a Minnesota-made tech company here in town, We Sparkle, that actually a lot of people think is better than Acuity. So be sure to check us out at wesparkle.ai. We really want to help you do a lot of those administrative tasks and do it with balance so that
is
you
We
stay sane
Sparkle
during this really
AI
difficult
similar
time.
to Acuity? Oh, I did not. So good. I'll definitely check it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big user of Acuity.
We're new, though we just started, so that might be why.
Definitely, I'll check it out. Well, thank you, Umar. Thank you, Hilal. I think for the future, it's like you said, we can only grow. If we went through COVID first few months and we survived, so that's a big step. So give applaud to yourself, all of you. So that has been the hardest part. And if that's behind us, the future looks brighter. And I do agree with you, Hilal. There is the next generation who we are the role models for, that are looking up to us. So if we are succeeding it, and we should be thinking about creating some platform and some trainings for them, so they don't have to go through all the hustles and all the troubles we went through, just figuring out and navigating it. So we could probably put all the resources that we had to learn the hard way, so that they don't have to go through everything we went through. So that, I think, would be hopefully the next, the future.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you, Fartun, but I think our time is up. Thank you all for being part of this platform today. Hopefully we will continue, and thank you so much to the organization, Better. But I'm so grateful. Minnesota has a really great opportunities for people like you. So thanks so much for being here today, and we'll continue this conversation.
Everybody give me a wave and I'll put this on social media. Give us a wave. Yay. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you all.